Nice big clap. No. The clap.
The clap.
It's the climb. I was about to say, if I could say something at the same time as you by looking at what your lips were about to do.
That's like the game Contact.
That's what that's called? Wait.
No, it's like, I'm thinking of, it's like, you're like...
Mind meld? Or...
Yeah, I think that...
Best. I don't know what I was going to say.
I was going to say Ginger, but then I was like,
no. Oh, Ginger would have been a good one, because this drink.
Ginger. That's what I was like...
Lemon. What? That's not what you're about to say.
I was going to say swallow. And then I said,
swallow would have been a good one.
But, no, the game is... It's like a good game to pass time, though, because you're like... The one person thinks of something, and that's like the person that's like in charge that round, and then everyone else is like, okay, like let's say the thing is like car, like the word is car. They're like first letter is, if you're like first letter is C, we're like,
oh yeah, you have to do a letter.
This is something that we eat for Thanksgiving. Contact 3, 2, 1.
Cornbread. Oh no! But no, I don't know why I didn't say collard greens first.
Cornbread. I don't really eat cornbread.
Wait a second. You don't like cornbread?
I know I like cornbread, but it's not really like a Thanksgiving thing. You know, like collard greens.
Collard greens is a Thanksgiving
right.
thing.
I mean, cornbread is also Thanksgiving thing, but not really.
But not exclusive, like.
Right. And I don't really have that on my Thanksgiving table.
You don't?
No.
No, I'm sorry. It's muffins.
Lasagna.
Oh, stuffing muffins. That's
stuffing.
Oh, Thanksgiving is coming up.
Greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, ram, hog, dog.
Wait,
chicken,
what is it?
turkey,
Dog, hog,
rabbit, you name it.
Okay, yes. Well, remember we used to sing together in the studio. We used to rehearse and we used to sing a little bit.
We did.
That was fun.
I missed those days.
I'm sitting here like, I feel like we need to sing a little something again. No, not putting you on the spot like we need to sing something now.
What we finna sing?
We finna sing. We finna talk.
What we finna sing?
Satan. I don't know why that's the first thing that came to my mind. You know the song that's like, Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. You know that song?
No, I should.
Yeah, no, but that's how it goes.
That's right. Yeah. I'm like, just like a general, like a general like flow.
Yeah. You know, that's how I've really been feeling, so I feel like we should get started. I've been feeling like, tear that kingdom down, please.
Wait, no, Satan tear the kingdom? No.
No.
God tear Satan's kingdom.
No, wait, no. God tear Satan's kingdom.
You said Satan tear the kingdom down.
Wait, whoa. Where does the lyric? Satan? No, Satan, we're going to tear his kingdom down.
Oh, because you said Satan tear the kingdom down. I said...
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Those were two separate thoughts. Satan.
I
left out the we're. We're gonna tear your kingdom down, right? Yeah, sorry, that was really not what I meant.
No, that was funny though, because I was
Satan
with you, and then I was like processing, and I was like, oh.
I'm glad you caught on to that, because that would have been weird. People are gonna be like, are you?
That would have been keep that.
All right. I feel like that's a good place to begin. Hello and welcome to 23, 24, 25. This is a podcast about being slapped in the face by not only 2023, but also by the wildly complicated transition that is turning 25. I'm your host, Jaska, and I've invited my friends here to talk about all things life as baby adults. And today I'm joined by my friend, Marissa, who is a fabulous, exceptional playwright, my dear friend from college, from NYU, and just an amazing person. Like, how are you today? I feel like I'm getting emotional. Like,
oh my God, don't stop.
I just think you're so great. How are you?
I'm so too. Thank you for having me. I saw that email.
You got that email? It's like Willy Wonka and the Golden.
Yeah. Wonka's last golden ticket.
I think you were the first golden ticket. I think you were one of the first people I thought about. As like, I thought about everybody specifically for a different subject, and I was like, Marissa. And I know a lot of people who are really creative and really like specific with their visions, but I was like, it's Marissa. Like, I'm like, sorry to this man, to everybody else, but I'm like, it's Marissa for the creativity.
Topic, I was like,
yes,
juicy, lots of things to talk about.
Lots of juicy stuff. But before we get started with the juicy questions that we've come to the table with, we're going to start with a little icebreaker.
Okay.
It's called MySpace Top 5. Not to be confused, well, I guess to be confused with MySpace Top 8. Right, which back in the day, some of us might have, we were a little young, but some of us might have gotten into MySpace. I was on MySpace a little bit. Because, you know, there were these TV shows on MTV that kind of like made me want to be like
MTV My Crib?
Yeah, like kind of made me want to be in that vibe. Like I would sneak and like do stuff.
How old were you?
I think I was...
You must have been like 6 years old. You know what I was doing? I was playing the little Lilo and Stitch game where you have to stack the sandwiches. That's what I was doing.
Oh, I was doing that too.
And you was on MySpace.
And I was on MySpace.
Making your top 8.
Yeah. No, because I was very like... Okay, no, I had to be like 8. I don't think I was 6. I had to be at least 8 because I know I was homeschooled already.
Oh, MySpace was not popular.
MySpace was popular when I was 8. When I was in 3rd grade. Yeah, I was in 3rd grade, and I don't know, I'm trying to calculate the year I was in 3rd grade. Math is not given right now. But like... no, the only reason why I remember that though, and also I remember that too because YouTube came out a couple years into me being homeschooled, and my friend told me about YouTube. She's like, girl, there's this new thing, it's called YouTube. And literally I called it YouTube. And then I started calling it YorubaTube because I thought
now that's what it should be.
Right? I was like, oh, this is an African thing. Like,
I'm curious, and if not, then YorubaTube.
It sounds good,
that
right?
That sounds really good, actually.
YorubaTube, right? It flows, like, no, but I remember, like, I started homeschool in the 3rd grade, and so, around that time, I was really lonely all of a sudden because I was just, like, in public school with all these kids around, and then all of a sudden it's just me, and my brother was homeschooled with me at the time, but that's it. So it was, like, student population of 2 and nothing else to do but read and do my work.
Either throughout high school?
Throughout middle school and the rest of elementary school. But in 8th grade, I went back to school. Even though I begged to the year before that, and my mom was like,
No. Do you feel like it helped you? Or like impacted you now? Do you feel it?
No, my life flashing before my eyes. Did it help me? No, yeah. I guess it did. It had to have helped me a little bit. I mean, I definitely figured out some stuff about myself, which I'll talk about a little bit in the self-discovery episode. But but it definitely helped me figure out some stuff about myself in terms of just self-care, and I think it's really important for kids to hop on that self-care train early. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even considering that that's what it was back then, but I had a lot of, like, alone time. I started taking, like, sewing lessons, and I kind of just, like, started making, like, purses and pillowcases and all this stuff.
That's where the start came from.
Right. Creativity. But yeah, I started to I got this, like, big boxy laptop. It was my first laptop. It was
the ones that are, like...
Yeah, it literally looked like a pizza box. So, like, somebody spray painted the front of a pizza box, like, hot pink, because I loved it because the screen part, the back of the screen part was hot pink. I don't even remember what kind of laptop that was.
It's maybe like a...
Like Dell.
Yeah,
that sounds like Dell. Those big pizza boxes, Dell looking at, Dookie looking at laptops. But also, I would be so mad because back then, the laptops, you could, like, make the keys, like, come off so easily by accident, like, and my little, Right, right.
It's like done.
My little brother was like one and some change or something like that, and he like knocked my computer down the stairs one time.
On purpose?
He was like doing like this to my computer. And for people that are listening, I'm just kind of like clawing my hands onto the keys. Like he did like that once, and like I walked into the room watching him do that, and keys just like flying in the air when he's doing that. And I was like, oh, I was so bad.
You better have fixed it.
But yeah, the point was to bring it back to the game we're about to play. I was on MySpace back in the day. But yeah, I didn't have nothing better to do. And it was fun. It was like an escape. And luckily I didn't get into anything that was like dangerous or bad, because I've seen those stories.
I've seen those stories.
But luckily, my parents were kind of strict enough for me to be like,
You were like, no, I can't look at anything else. I have to stick on safe search.
Right, safe search. Safe search. But yeah, this is MySpace top 5, just because of like a little bit of time constraints, and because I think it's hard to think about more than 5 things nowadays for a certain topic. So I'm just like, let's do a top 5. So anything, your list can include your favorite characters, your favorite people, music, TV shows, whatever you want that inspired you or that really kind of changed the trajectory of your little life growing up.
Dang. Okay.
So do you have something that you can give us?
So I'm going to start with so the list is not in any order, but these first 2, obviously, 1 and 2, like hand in hand. Mm-hmm. My mom and my grandmother, I think about them all the time. Definitely influenced my artistry. Lots of life lessons from the 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And I continue to get them from them. Also, just like the woman I look up to the most, especially my grandmother, in terms of like her. She like grew up like dirt poor in Haiti. Would like mix up like flour and dirt and water and like make bread. Like she was like dirt poor.
Oh. I said, oh.
Literally, it's like came to the state like went or like illegally escaped like a dictatorship in the Papa Doc's dictatorship in Haiti, and then went to Canada, came to the States. This was like late 60s, early 70s. Started her life here, and was like truly like miserable for most of her life until like the last year of her life, where she had like a really rare stomach cancer that was like not curable.
Oh wow.
And she, like, it was like a 180. She was happy. She was like, take me to SeaWorld, take me to Disney. Like, she was just like so full of life, and it just makes me think about
she said seize the day.
Right. So I think about her a lot.
That's beautiful.
3, 4, 5, no order. Lamar Perry, who's an awesome director, educator, artist in the States, and is Black, obviously.
Right, I was like, with a name like Lamar.
Lamar Perry? With a name like Lamar? No, Lamar is like really dope. Lamar directed like a virtual workshop of my first play, which was like Twisted Juniper. Like that was my first full-length play. Mm-hmm. And truly like led that process with like in his words, ease and grace, and is how I try to lead all of my artistic processes, and like showed me that a process can invoke like building community and not like this very regimented way that we like lead a rehearsal process. Mm-hmm. Kendrick Lamar. Because Kendrick Lamar.
Yes.
Another Lamar. Right. Like, what am I on
a list of Lamars?
I need some more Lamars in my life.
Lamar Burton.
Lamar Burton. Not on my list, but...
He was on my list. No, he wasn't.
Really?
But that would have been so fun, right?
Lamar Burton. And then Azra Barton, who's this awesome Canadian choreographer Azure is not black. Azure is white. Okay. However,
I was about to say I couldn't tell.
Azure, you never know.
French.
Azure. No, no, she's really dope because I feel like I borrow a lot of like my aesthetic from her in terms of like directing, writing. I'm like, it's just very like a lot of like intricacies in her way of choreographing, and then how she uses the body. Where I'm just like, how do I do that in writing without saying what the body is necessarily doing? Mm-hmm. So that's my top 5.
I love your top 5.
Thank you.
I love that you have a choreographer on the list.
Busk is like Busk is like the best. I think it's one of the best top 3 pieces of artwork ever.
Wow. Okay, I haven't seen it. I have to see it.
Yeah, you have to see it.
I have to see it.
It's like a 40-minute dance piece.
And I will watch it. I think I watched I used to dance, of course, all the time. But I'm like, I watched this, like, it was almost an hour, this dance piece. It just really changed my life. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was in another language. I might have to add the details to that somewhere. Because
what did they do in it, though?
It was basically like, and Dante knows about this one because I showed Dante this too, but they were dancing, like, and they were like in an office environment on stage, and there was like a spotlight on them. And the whole piece was like a scene that was like narrated over it. So it wasn't music, it was like talking.
I love that.
And they were kind of like their dance moves were like the moves, kind of like we were watching what was going on in the conversations they were having, but in such like fluid like dance move. It was like beautiful. I'm definitely gonna send that to you.
Oh yeah, you have to send that to me.
I feel like you would love that.
I love dance.
Yeah, dance is awesome.
No, dance makes me hopeful for the arts. where I'm like kind of depressed when I like see, not depressed but like unhopeful when I see a lot of like art happening, like especially art that is like being amplified in a very commercial sense. I'm like, yeah, dance is where it's at. Okay, I'm like, I leave dance crying every time.
Yeah, and I remember just being like. So sometimes it's hard, like dancing, when I was in dance class all the time, and like, oh, I'm so tired, or I was in some environments that were like, didn't feel conducive to my just like freedom and creative expression, and I was just like, why am I dancing if it's going to be so stressful and so like competitive and so this and so that? But once I got into a separate space outside of that, like, formal, like, institutional, this is how we're doing it, and this is what's right, and this is what's proper, and this is what, all of that type of thing, I really felt a different type of freedom with it. I didn't really care if my body was, like, those little, like, slim, straight ballerinas. I don't know how to...
No, it's like
but there was a lot of
proper, and
right.
Like, you have to be.
There was a lot of like toxicity and like body, like it was just a judgmental environment sometimes, and I'm like, I can do without that because the tea is we can all dance.
No, like
everybody can dance. So I never understood like. Also, this was high school, by the way, so it's kind of like, what do you expect of me? I'm 14.
No, they said, you ready for them college audition? It's, like, really toxic.
I'm just like, and how do you not know that I'm just doing this because I like to do it, and I'm not trying to pursue it as a career, but I really love doing this.
Right. I feel like there's been, like, a resurgence of, and obviously probably because of COVID, but, like, a resurgence of people just dancing for pleasure, which is, like, nice to see. And also, like, seeing the typical like type of person with in terms of like all sectionalities, like that like what a dancer can like, who can be a dancer and what a dancer can look like expanding. It's just really satisfying.
Anyone can dance. That's
right, because anyone can cook.
I believe that too. I love cooking.
I don't know if anyone can cook.
They can learn. Yes.
No.
Okay, let's move on to the questions because I'm so excited about the questions that I have for you, and then you get to ask me some questions, so that's going to be very exciting. Yes, so let me get started, because, by the way, my top 5 is going to be in the first episode, so they would have already seen this if they're seeing this.
So that means you have to listen to the first episode.
That means you have to listen to the first episode.
And if you don't, then pause right now and go back.
Stop.
Wait a minute.
Drop.
Oh.
And roll. No. No.
Wait a minute.
It's actually these choreographers who did that. We'll talk about that later. Okay, my first question. Are there certain environments or places that you find particularly conducive to your creative thinking and idea generation, and how do you seek out or create these spaces?
Environments that are conducive. Okay, so
Get the juices flowing.
When I think about this question, I'm like, when it comes to like my writing, and like, yeah, when it comes to like more of like, okay, I need to like write this down. I need to like make like a director's concept. I need to like synthesize my writing and then like synthesizing my directorial ideas. I'm like, I need to be in like a library. That's such a basic answer, but like I need to be where other people are working, because my ass otherwise will just like be at home, watch Law and Order. Except I don't watch Law and Order that much anymore before I go to sleep. I watch HGTV. So
that's a good one.
HGTV, and then I'm like, and like I can write that. I need it to be like dead quiet from like other people. But like I can listen to things, or I can I need like white noise that is like TV white noise.
Right.
Or I need to be in a library. It's like, that's it. But in terms of like the idea coming to me, which is like where my mind went to for this question, and just like the initial creative like instincts, I think that I get a lot of my ideas in nature. I love nature. I'm a nature fiend.
That's what I would have said for this.
Yeah, I love nature. Like nature is in every one of my plays, some way, somehow, whether it be like a marsh, like the ocean, red rocks, like literally like nature is in like every play that I write, or like even in like choreography, I try to like borrow elements or qualities of nature, like for example like water, like how do you like shapeshift that into choreography without it being tacky or like corny, you know what I mean? Like you know,
right? I know what you mean.
So yeah, I look to nature a lot, specifically the beach. I feel like is very conducive for me, and I never like go out into nature being like, all right, I'm gonna have like a creative idea come. I am here because I need to create something. I'm just like I'm usually just like with family or like by myself, just like doing whatever, and then the idea will hit me, and then I'm like, okay, gotta take out the notes app, gotta.
I love this because I just realized, I was like, wow, our answers are kind of similar. Birthday twins. Cancer. June 24th. June 24th. So that's beautiful. Nature is a really, really beautiful answer to me, because I also feel that we are nature as humans. Like, everything runs through us. Like, our bodies like return to the soil. They come up from the soil and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
so I'm just like, and the connection we have with water. Like, our bodies are mostly made out of water, and when people talk about like moon cycles and things like that, and how moon like
the tides,
affects the tides and everything like that. Somebody recently told me, which I'm not even sure I thought of this before someone told me, but they were just like, if the moon affects the tides of the ocean, what makes you think it's not doing something to the water in your body? Like, moving the water in your body. And I was just like, yeah. So, to me, that was just like, astrology is real then.
I want to like see like, if someone hasn't done a study on this, this is me telling you, the listener, to do a study.
On this. Any scientists out there?
I'm like, I was like thinking about this recently too, where it's like if we are, because I was in a process where we were like doing choreography in water, looking to water and like Black women's elevation, Black women and femmes elevation, self elevation through that container. But it's like if we're like, it's exactly what you're saying. Where it's like I don't know what the percentage is. Is it like 70?
I think it's around 70 something.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. We can fact check that, but I think it's
fact check. Yeah, it's like water. I would be interested in tracking that for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I don't even know how I would track that. I don't know. I'm curious.
I don't know either, but it's a cool concept to me. Let's move on to the next question because I'm just excited. That was a lovely answer. All right, so do you believe okay.
Ooh.
Do you believe that this is a question that has been on my mind for years, okay? And I just need to ask somebody else whose opinion that I really respect, okay? So do you believe that external recognition or validation, such as awards or public acclaim, is essential for art to be considered successful? Or just like, you know how people regard someone who's an Emmy award-winning actor or an Oscar-winning actor to be of a higher caliber than somebody who might be a really, really brilliant actor. This is just an example, but hasn't won any awards. How do you define success for your own work? And do you think success should even be a requirement for the creative process?
Okay.
That was a lot of questions.
No, there's 3 questions in that.
Yeah, I could break it up.
I have answers. Okay. In terms of receiving success being defined by outside recognition, like awards, publications, XYZ, you know, I don't think that is it that it's valid, or is it that it doesn't matter? That is the question.
If the award is valid, or if okay, wait, what is your question?
Like the first part of the question is, do I believe? Is it essential for art to be considered successful?
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I heard your no to the question.
It's really weird. Like, just recently, I was in an interview for like a writing fellowship, and this is like one of like the finalist rounds, and like the head of the program was like started the interview by saying, you know, recently we've been seeing a lot of your name, and I'm like, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I guess like I don't know how to respond to
but
that.
What was the follow up to that?
For my follow up,
or their follow up?
Their follow up was like yeah, like congratulations, like it. Like literally it was just like congratulations, like being like, yeah, like we like what are the, can you like name us the things that
like your accolades or
right. And I'm like, you go to my website one. Also, like I don't really go around saying that type of stuff, you know. And I learned this from my mom, where it's like I don't really go around saying my accomplishments, because you should treat me the same without knowing them. And also, like, I'm the same person that I was without the allocates. You know, like, the plays are still the same. I'm still the same. My values are still the same.
Right.
So it's like, I don't want you to look at me differently just because of an award that is like also biasly given, you know what I mean? And maybe it's just like this line in a play really resonated with someone on the panel and got me the award, and someone else, you know what I mean? Like I think awards are, not to say that they are not valid, but I don't think that they need to define success.
Because they're a lot more subjective than I think people think in the moment when they're like seeing that someone won something and taking that in, you know?
Right.
It's like a lot more like, oh, there are a few people who kind of made this judgment of this. That doesn't mean it's not great. And the people who were chosen to make that judgment were chosen for a reason, because they probably have a lot of experience taking in that material, taking in different types of material, and like judging. I don't know how else to say it, but it's very valid. It'll be like a very... Sorry about that. We had a little technical snafu. We'll be back right after this.
I don't think that they define success, but I do think that they are like especially valid for like marginalized artists, because they increase access. Like I recognize that like awards increase access.
That's a good point.
you know what I mean? Like I understand that my like home dude being like home dude being like, yeah, like we've been seeing your name. I'm like, yeah, I know, and I hope to get money to do my work. Like that is how the art gets done, unfortunately. But I think it's important to like understand where that comes into play. Like the only reason I went to Brooklyn College for my MFA was for access. I know I can write.
Yeah.
Like I know my writing is great. You know what I mean?
You eat down.
No. Okay. No. But now like people look at me differently because I went to that school because of the quote unquote legacy. I'm like we're all these writers are different, but just because of the legacy and like how it's not whatever.
Yeah, wow. That's so true, though. The legacy thing. It's like not just awards, but having the degree, having the specific school that you went to. It's just
right. Like, and wait, oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, that school had a lot of trauma, okay?
Yes, it did.
I walked in this building, I said, oh!
Right, I'm just like, we have to... No, I'm just kidding. They're graciously letting us use the production lab, so we love NYU.
Thank
you. Whoa. As a matter of fact, it's the nicest school I ever went to. You look to the side, you pan to the side, and there's like a gun to my head.
No. Hi, guys. I'm here with my girlfriend. You know, open the door now.
We love NYU.
I'm here with my girlfriend for the friend. You know that thing?
Oh my goodness. That is so funny. But yeah, no, I totally know what you mean, dude.
I know there's more to the question. Okay. How do I define success in my own work?
Yeah, I like that. Like, I think there should be a personal definition of success, because, like, that's how you keep it moving. That's how you get, quote unquote, better for yourself. I don't think it's like a fact of getting better. I think it's just like moving forward. Like, keep continuing to do the work and continuing to create stuff that makes you happy, that brings you joy, that tells the story that you want to tell. Like, I think personal success inspires, and that should be the point, because otherwise people might just stop doing what they do.
Right. It's I think, even though like we spoke about like external validation in terms of like awards, like typical like recognition, blah blah blah, fellowships, degrees, all that. Defining, I think it's important for artists to define success for themselves. Otherwise, it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, the whole thing is a journey. So if you don't have some type of destination, it's like, okay.
Right, and I don't think, like, once you reach the destination, it's like, all right.
It's over. Right. It's not over, but...
I think there's, like, different, like, pit stops.
It's like a checkpoint.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
I think defining... That's me thinking.
That was an amazing sound.
Defining success for me, that looks like, okay, am I like artistically filled and fulfilled in this process? Am I actualizing a vision that I have, while also considering the resources that I have? Because I think a lot of times it's like, well, dang, like, I don't have the money to, like, do this, like, full-scale production, but, like, within what I do have, and I think that's, like, important for artists to know, too, like, within the resources that I do have, and have access to, can I, like how can I fully realize this vision? Also within this budget. Mm-hmm. Like what is possible, and like working within that scope, I think is like important. Otherwise, we will never meet our successes, because there are like a lot of roadblocks meant for us to not reach it in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot about trying to. One, I also think it's important for me when I lead a room to make sure that the artists that are collaborating on my work feel fulfilled, and that there's like community built. Mm-hmm. Similar to what I was saying about Lamar Perry before. Lamar Perry, that Lamar.
Lamar Perry.
Lamar Perry. Very black, not British at all.
have to make that distinction.
Right. Yeah, just like leading in that way. Like if I can invoke like a community like feeling and like build trust in a rehearsal room, and then that's like big success to me. And then I think about like me making work for like everybody, but the Black community. Come on now, that's right. Like my main focus. And if I can, represent like the nuances of our multitude of experiences in a way that like hasn't necessarily been done before, then that is a success to me. And I hope my biggest hope, and I think that for me, like that is where like the external validation comes from. I know that like not everyone in the Black community is gonna dig my work, and that's okay. But if I can like reach some people in the community, that's like major to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like you even answered the last little part of that question in terms of, is it necessary to have that component of success in the creative process? And it is necessary to have a personal component, at least, of success. It's like, why are you here? Because that is also kind of connected to that question.
Otherwise, you're just working, grinding within the capitalistic structure.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we're all... It is all capitalism. Right. But, like, if you can at least, like, lessen the flow...
right.
And, like, define what you're doing for yourself within that structure...
Right. If you can curate it to where it works for you in a way that you can keep spreading your message and spreading your passion statement, as I like to call it, mission statement, some people like to call it. But if you can curate it to where you're spreading your passion statement, and it's not like, oh, I'm money. Like, you're not Mr. Krabsing it out here. It's kind of like, yeah, you need the resources, but you also, like, the goal is not that. Like, the goal is you have something to say. You have a passion statement. That's the point. That's where it has to start. Like, you have to be able to be connected to that so you don't start going all over the place and it gets, like, lost in translation.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially for artists, because it's like, I can up and leave this career anytime, make way more money.
Right, way more money.
Okay, not
way more money.
And it's not to say that, like, I can't make the same amount of money in this field. I know it's going to take more time.
Yeah.
Simply because, like, we're Black women and femmes. Like, I know it's going to take more time. But it's not... I'd rather be fulfilled at the end of the day. You
right.
know what I mean?
I'd rather play the long game. I'm going to let you know that now. Because my spirit, like, it's kind of like when you have to choose between saving money and protecting your mental health. Like, I'd rather protect my mental health and do what I love doing than... I just have all this money right away and do that, you know?
Right, last year I was working, like, a remote day job in healthcare, very flexible. You put your nail polish right on the keyboard, you go right back to sleep. You make your...
I was like, nail polish?
Make it seem like you're on that active on Microsoft Teams, okay? And it's like, that was so flexible. I was, like, still teaching at Brooklyn College. I was, like, making rehearsals, but it's, like... not fulfilling, talking to people who are, like, literally dying, or you're, like, working in, like, healthcare, and it's, like, you are in these meetings, people don't care. And it's like, I got like very depressed during that time because working in that, and so I had to leave. But I was making money there for working like full-time shift. Really, it was like 3 hours. You know, the flexibility was there, okay?
Right.
But sanity-wise, success-wise, no.
Yeah, that's totally valid. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I've been in many a boat.
Many a boat.
Many a boat. I've been
Many a
on.
row.
Right. I've been on the Stability Sea. And
Stability C.
Stability Sea. And it was not for me. But but yeah, let's move on to my last question, because I'm sitting here like that was a lot. Wait, is this my last question? The way I put the questions on here is sending me
collaboration.
What did I ask you?
Do you believe collaboration?
That was me, right?
Yeah, that was
okay. Because I think I accidentally erased something. That sounds like me.
No,
okay.
No, that's you.
Okay, and sometimes I ask big questions, but this is going to be edited. See, look at the rainbow in my head. No, I don't know how to do all that. We love Final Cut Pro.
Oh, Final Cut Pro. Is it better than Premiere Pro?
That's what you use, Final Cut Pro?
Is it better than Premiere? Oh.
It's not better than Premiere Pro. That's what I learned how to use Premiere Pro in this little class that I took at George Washington University when I was a senior in high school. I like
Premiere, but it takes up a lot of storage.
Yeah, I deleted that thing. That thing almost made my computer start.
I think I gotta take it off because my computer said you have to delete. Something's gotta give.
Yeah.
It was like something's gotta give.
You have a MacBook Air or Pro?
I have a Pro. And it still is like going crazy. I think I have to delete the Creative Cloud.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of software, but let's get to this last question of mine. So, do you believe? No, this is I think. I think this question also varies from person to person. But do you believe collaboration enhances or hinders your creative process? And can you provide an example of a collaborative project that significantly impacted your work? Oh, that was a tongue twister.
He yawns, and I look at him like.
Our producer.
Okay, being primarily writer-director, I think, well, my overall answer is collaboration enhances my work. When I'm in my writing, for the viewers I said viewers.
They're viewers and listeners. Audience.
Viewers, listeners, audience listening out there.
Audience listening.
Audience for all y'all
listening out there.
WBLS.
WBLACK.
WBLACK in the morning show. All right.
23, 24, 25.
Nephew Tommy.
Nephew
Steve Harvey morning show. You just got I just saw a video like that yesterday. I sort of died. You just been phone tapped.
Whoa, that just brought back memories because I used to listen to that
in the morning
on the way to school.
Exactly. That's literally. I'll send it to you.
Yes.
You just got phone tapped. Ding. You know what that sound effect?
Right. Ding. Oh my gosh! Wow, that brings back memories.
Enhances. It enhances. When I am doing my writing process, I'm very much in solitude. I don't really, for all y'all in the writers group that I'm in, don't listen to this. But I like sharing my work with writers groups and other artists, but in terms of like the actual writing, like when I'm like actually like writing pages, I want to be like in my zone.
Yeah, I get it.
Like again, like a library, like in my room at like 3 a.m. I oftentimes, this is like anxiety induced obviously, but wait till the last minute and have trained myself to believe that all my best work comes at the last minute because I'm working like a dog. Okay. So, like, that first part of the process, I like to work alone. Then, when it comes to, like, revising, like, editing, sharing, I'm like, can you please look at these pages? Like, tell me what you think. What are your thoughts?
Right.
But when it comes to, like, putting it on its, like, feet, I love to collaborate with people. I think that without collaboration, you miss out on a lot of perspectives on your. Let's say you're like the creator of the work, you miss out on a lot of perspectives if you don't allow people in. There's a lot of questions that people offer me, or like offer the room in processes that I'm in, that I would not have even considered, or like didn't even identify in my own work. So it's nice to see when people are like, here's a theme that I'm seeing, and I'm like, I didn't even think about that, but thank you for saying that I did. You know what I mean?
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I meant at all, but I could totally see it, and it just makes the work 10 times better if we look at it from this lens. I think collaborating as artists, just for me, like having like one, I think a lot of it is about self-preservation too, and like sustaining the self, and like you can't do it all by yourself. Just in terms of like draining yourself, like you literally cannot do it all. Like you need, in my opinion, it's like you need a team of people who like are good at what they do and like doing what they do. I think it's important. Like getting people who like what they do in a room is very important. It like makes a difference of having someone who does something well and doesn't like what they do. So think about that. I think meeting people before you bring them on board is important.
Yeah.
That's a sidebar. But
me writing that down.
Yeah, I think it's even if it's like a 30-minute meeting, I think it's important.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Enhances. Oh, and the project that I worked on.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That was one of the.
That was one of the questions.
That was about question.
The question. So, I looked to Dante before because, like, when I truly say, like, I know it's not even in like an ego-centered thing of like, yes, this was like my first play that like had a full production. And it's like literally like that process was like the affirmation that I needed, that a collaborative process can feel like friends just hanging out. I think that's like the vibe. Like I always say at the beginning of specifically a rehearsal process, but I think this can apply to any other creative process. Like just like building trust the first 2 weeks, and like building community is much more important than like getting to the actual work, or like adjust that to whatever timeline your project is on.
Right.
But like
it's important. I agree.
Right, because then like I'm able to trust the decisions that you're making, whether that be like creative instincts, disagreements we may have, like just even like going to actors, like a decision you might make of your character. I'm like, we had a discussion and I understand where you're coming from. And now I'm able to think about, still an actor, how my character might respond in a different way than I had thought because of something that you brought to the table, or like I think about like designers maybe like changing a vision that I have, or like a thing that I was very set on, and I'm like, oh no, I see like how this point of view in approaching the design is much more in service of the work than what I had envisioned. So yeah, I think like just having a lot of brain energy in a room with people who really want to be there, really game changer.
Yeah.
That was long. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, that's okay. I definitely think you answered the question.
Did I answer the question? Did I answer the question? Okay.
Oh my goodness, the mucus is coming back.
I know.
But
for me too.
But I really appreciate that answer too, because sometimes I can recall rehearsal processes where I can tell like some of the other people in the room felt a little antsy during the moments where we were like getting to know each other, and also like getting kind of deep into like conversations surrounding thematic elements and whatever we were working on. But it made me feel very comfortable because I'm like, anyway, dealing with anxiety in general is just like, that's one thing. Going into a room where you have to be so vulnerable with the people around you and then present that exercise and like building up that you did in this room with all that vulnerability to an audience. I'm like, I think I prefer to be comfortable before we do all that. Right. So, like...
It's like you're asking what of me, and I don't even know you.
Right. To me, that's productive. It's productive to have conversations. It's productive to talk about things that are affecting us. And it's just productive to grow closer as an ensemble.
Right.
As you're even, like, without actually examining whatever the text or material is. Beforehand, I feel like we need to know. We need to be comfortable. We need to connect with each other. So,
and it's like what you're saying also makes me think of the fact that like you could have a room of 30 people, cast, crew, creative. Just because you have a team of like that amount doesn't mean that it's a collaborative process.
Right.
You know, like you can have like usually like the directors and producers are like in charge of the room or like the leaders of the process, and they could have like a chokehold on the entire thing and there's no collaboration whatsoever. It's just like we're gonna do this, and it's like that is, to me, that is not collaboration. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I hate rooms like
I know what you mean.
I hate rooms like that.
Yeah. I think it's important to also be able to decipher that and be like, okay, yeah, no, not this room. Or there's something about this room, I wouldn't take certain aspects of this room into my own room. Let's keep our rooms separate. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
There are some rooms I won't be visiting again.
Valid.
What do you mean you've been listening this whole time and you haven't subscribed yet? I don't see what the holdup is. The button is right there. And while you're at it, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You obviously like the show.
There's some rooms that don't deserve my visit. Okay, so let's move on to the part of the show where you ask me a couple questions, and I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability.
It's a vanilla cold brew from Starbucks, which, if you're like a coffee lover, is actually better than like a latte macchiato, because like it's actual coffee, but it still has that sweetness, but it's not like overpowering. Anyway, okay. I just had to throw that out there because like I was really doubting on the vanilla cold brew, and then my mom was like, "No,
try it."
Right, with the cold with the foam. Try it. Okay.
I love foam.
Right? And it adds like a little...
This sounds like an outtake.
That's what you think. This is making it. No. Okay. Can you pinpoint a time in your life where your creative process has changed? And for you, like, why did that happen? What was the change? And then if not, why do you think it remained the same all this time?
Okay, yes. There's definitely been a change, and I definitely can attribute that change in terms of specifying what actually happened. I'm pretty sure it started to happen after college when I moved back to New York in the midst of the pandemic, and I realized that things were kind of weird during that time. I still wanted to figure out what I wanted to do, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity to perform, but I was just like, okay, I just gotta be creative on my own and all that stuff. But something that changed for me in my process was timing, like the timing of things. I've still come up against this a lot. It's not like I've figured it out and I've like found the golden ticket. It's not like I've gotten the
last golden ticket.
Right, I didn't find Wonka's last golden ticket yet, but I have been able to identify at least that timing was something that I needed to change up my perspective on it, like how I was viewing how many hours I had in a day, for example. And that really changed my process because a lot of things don't have to be rushed as much as I was rushing them beforehand. And I think I was in a pattern in college because we had so much stuff to do. Like, at one point I had 3 jobs and I was in a show, like rehearsing for a show, and then I still had to go to class. Like, I'm just like, so when do I do my homework?
Right.
Is the question. So
when do I be a college student?
Right. When do I be a student? So I got into a mode where it was just like, I felt like I didn't really have time to do anything else. And like, I couldn't distinguish where to take my time because I felt like I had no time because everything had to be done at the same time. So it was just like, I got into that rhythm, and it was a little bit tough for me to break out of it at first. But I identified, it's like, wow, okay, you can slow down. And because I used to give myself, I still do this, I still give myself my own deadlines that are not related to a deadline that I actually have to meet. But I've kind of adjusted the way I do this now. So it's not like, or the way I like set out my to-do schedule. And it's just like, because it takes a lot more time to do things than I was previously giving it credit for. I'm like, I'm going to be so ambitious and get all of these things done today. And then I would get 2 of those things done and be completely like deflated, like feel so defeated because I'm just like, I only did 2 things today. When in truth, that was actually a lot. Like, I got a lot
like
done.
steps within each thing to get the one
right,
thing
exactly. And instead of being like, I need to get this whole one thing done today, that's exactly it. I started to like separate things, like doing my little doing the graphic design for this project, for example. I'm like, I can't finish that in one day. I can't even finish that in 1 week. So what I'm going to do is add little pockets of that here and there and start early enough so that by the time I get to the premiere date, we'll be ready to go. And it won't feel like I crammed that. It won't feel like I was rushing. No, because like sometimes though, because I'm a writer as well. Sometimes with things like writing, for example, and I'll talk about writing for a second, I'll talk about acting. Like with writing, I do the thing where I'm not usually writing things for a goal of showcasing it for a while. Like, I just start writing things and I'm just like, since I mostly do screenwriting, I'm like, I'll return to that in 5 months with fresh eyes, and then and then I'll do a rewrite, revisions, and now I'm at the point of one of my projects where I'm like showing people and asking for feedback and stuff like that. But when I started doing that, I realized, oh, I see why people are like, it took 5 years to make this project, not only because they were trying to sell it for so long, but the working on it part. Like, you really want to flesh this shit out. You really want to flesh this stuff out. And I'm just like, yeah, thinking about that and thinking about how, reminding myself that I'm always a writer and I'm always an actor, like, working on these things for an extended period of time, even when it feels like, since nobody's seeing them, it can sometimes feel like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, but that's not the case. Like, you're literally that.
It's like weird to like look at people as, or not weird, but it's weird, but it is something that we as artists do, is like looking towards people as like time checkers, or like, yeah. And it's like, that's a person.
Right? It's like human being.
They can't tell me, like, what the correct timeline of, like, this process is, you know?
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like, it's gonna, like, I'm gonna keep working on, and then it's not that thing, because sometimes you can go into the thing people talk about where it's like toxic preparation. You're quote-unquote always in preparation, and you're always telling people, this is what I'm working on, because you want to seem like you're doing something, but you're actually kind of like procrastinating. And I'm like, that's different. People do that sometimes. Sometimes fear kind of seeps in, and you have to navigate how to like get out of that mindset. But when you know you're doing something, like, you're doing something, there's no question about it. There's no reason to doubt that the artist that you are. And I feel the same way with acting, because we already know it's tough out there.
It's tough in these streets.
And I'm starting to like create things for myself, because I'm sitting here like, Cast where? Who's because
you have to.
Yeah, it's just because after I was working in casting, I really got a different perspective of how this stuff works, like how actors and performers get casted in roles. There's so many factors that go into it. You could be really, really good and not get it for a whole bunch of different reasons. So, yeah, and I would feel so bad when I had to be the one to deliver some bad news to somebody.
Well, you know this, and I know that you did wonderful. However,
it'd be however, but yeah, that I love casting as a separate thing apart from acting. It really, really helps my perspective as an actor who goes out and auditions for things, because I'm going to give it my all every time. And I'm going to work on the material and explore it and do what I think is going to serve the character best. Sometimes that works out really well, and it might be in my favor, and I might book whatever it is. Sometimes it works out really well, and I don't book whatever it is. But, you just have to commit and go all out anyway, because what's the worst that can happen? You don't get it. But there's going to be a lot of no's, so...
It's better to get the no than to not get any answer at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, just gotta give it to them. But yeah, I think I answered that. I feel how you feel now. I'm just like, well, I think I...
No, the questions sort of like make you can go on like a tree of... I said a tree, where it's like the question and then branches that are like still related.
Branches.
Twigs, leaves.
Yes, right. Insects.
Yeah. The roots.
A butterfly flies off of the branch.
The nest. The chrysalis.
What's the next question?
Chrysalis. Oh, okay. What is the thing that you're most scared to write about now, and why?
This is I'm trying not to say interesting, but it's the only word that's coming up in my head.
Intriguing.
This is intriguing because I thought about this question, and I'm just like, okay, the thought that came to mind is something that I already write about, but I feel that I could write about it more truthfully. Like I could be more honest with it.
In what way? And you go.
Yes, no, that's good. Like, interject. But for me, it's my anxiety. And in what way? I feel like I talk about it. I kind of talk about how I feel in moments. And sometimes I'm just like, there's stuff that I know that, how there's stuff that you would just never say to anybody? I don't know. Like, I don't really know how to describe, like, the level. I do feel like there's a certain point where it's just like, there are still a lot of things people don't need to know. Like, I'm still entitled to my privacy in that way. Like, but there's still some underbelly of my experience that I feel like I'm still holding close that can be shared. And I'm just like, why am I so... I think I just kind of grew up in a way where it's just like, I am the middle child. So it's kind of like really big people pleaser energy that was going on a lot of the time. And when you're trying to please people all the time, there are moments where you lose your sense of self. And there are moments where I guess like I got to a point where I'm like, if I show people this part, people might start looking at me differently, because it's like, it might seem out of the blue, even though it's always been there. It might seem like, or I feel like in relation to like sharing this, I think mostly about my family, because I was raised in a very like traditional Christian upbringing. So a lot of the things that I felt all my life, though, I feel like sometimes that holds me back a little bit in terms of my family like shifting the way that they treat me, potentially because of all this underbelly that I haven't expressed, but that's always been there. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's not interesting. It's intriguing. It's intriguing. But I feel like it is something that I want to share more, and it's a part of the reason why I started this project too, is because this is a very pivotal year for me and for a lot of people. around our age especially. And it's just like, with what's been going on this year, with how social media is kind of like so put so much pressure on us, and it's so stressful to like assimilate to a certain way of doing things, and like what cancel culture has become. And like, I don't know, not to say that I feel like I'm doing something that's, I just feel like expressing myself. Like, there's not a lot of room, even though I know I'll be okay, there doesn't seem to be a lot of room a lot of times to make a mistake and then be like, yeah, this is, or this is why I didn't say anything at this time, or this is why I didn't, like, anxiety is, my therapist once said, she was just like, okay, like, this is what I'm thinking is going on. I said, oh no. Oh no. What are you thinking is going on? And, well, basically she was talking about how it's, how it becomes exhausting when it's time for you to stand up for yourself, because you've been standing up for other people a lot, and it gets to a point where you don't know how to do it. It's kind of confusing, and you're just like, it has different requirements, standing up for yourself, than standing up for different people does. And I'm like, oh, why is it so much easier to stand up for other people than it is to stand up for me? But it's just like a mode of always like trying to bring things together, and like that big maternal energy and all that. And she was just like, that can cause like a perpetual depression, and it can cause a perpetual anxiety. So that's where I ended up falling into. And I think, yeah, it's a lot of factors that are affecting us nowadays that are just like, it's important for me to talk about. I feel that I just have to navigate that and get past that fear a little bit, because I know people can relate. That's the thing. I know people can relate, because mostly all of us are interacting with social media in some way, interacting with the boomer generation or like Gen X in a way where it's just like there's a disconnect there. So I think once I get to the root of that anxiety in terms of being more honest with sharing it, then people might also come together, and it'll be communal, and it'll be a fellowship, and we can move forward with that. And it won't just be, oh, the view of who I am is going to change because I've never talked about this before. Mm-hmm. And I think I should just talk about it, because everybody comes against that. We all come against that sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes me.
I know. I'm over here like.
I think like what's reassuring, or like what can be reassuring for you, is that I think because we're like entering a period where we're reaching some sort of normalcy after the past 3 years. Like, I think we're like, I mean, listen, people are still dying because of the pandemic. We have wars going on. Black people are being killed. This, that, and the third.
Right.
The world is trying to reach some sort of equilibrium, and we just can't let it ever reach that. Mm-hmm. But having the shared experience during like what was like, because of the pandemic, I think like there's like this emergence of people craving honesty, especially like on social media, because it is like the most accessible way to like reach different perspectives, or reach people that you wouldn't have met in your like small hometown. So like I think people are definitely craving honesty, even though what we see on our feeds is a lot of like artifice. I think like the masses are kind of or reaching some sort of like collective tiredness from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm thinking about everything, just like sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize, that just reminded me also. I was writing a little poem yesterday when I was sitting in front of the water in Williamsburg.
Oh.
And
Yesterday was nice too.
yesterday was nice. Yesterday was...
It was nice. It
Right
was kind of
when
like
it should be.
spring.
It was kind of like
Right,
spring.
the air was like spring.
Nice and like slight brisk. But I was walking towards the water, and like to do that you have to pass by all these shops that are like salons and all this stuff, and I saw like people getting their nails done, and it looked like one of those, you know, like bougie salons where it's just like whatever.
Like $100 for like
Right,
gel.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And my mind started to race as I was taking in my surroundings, and it was kind of like, sometimes I feel, growing up poor, maybe not dirt poor, but growing up poor, I feel like sometimes I have just enough to, this is going to be literally in the poem, but sometimes I'm feeling like I have just enough to fake it a lot of the times, but not enough to actually know what's going on. Like, I feel so confused all the time. Like, how do people get into a flow? How do people get into a rhythm of living life, especially in adulthood? I'm just like, I had to really crack down on my financial literacy education, for example, because I'm just like, where the heck did all the money go? Like, where the heck is this money going every month? So yeah, I'm like, sometimes it's easy to fake it, and sometimes I just don't want to be faking it. I'm like, I want to know. I want to educate myself, and I also don't want to feel like I'm in a position of the privilege of all these privileges that I have. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm in this position and ignoring everything, the other stuff around me. So that was the thing I was thinking about, because I'm just like, some of these people, not to just put a judgment on someone I don't know, but some people just don't interact with things else. Like, especially, we saw it in the special college we went to. No, it's like, some people just...
Very special college.
It's just like, how do you not know that? How do you not see that? How do you not see the people who are struggling right in your own community?
It's not, well, this is what we were talking about yesterday. It's not that you don't see it, it's that you are able to like selectively tune it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that you're like given the not given, but it's like you have the privilege to selectively tune it out and remove yourself from the obligation of just being in service of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is. I think everyone sees it. It's just like, nope, I don't have to. It's not me. Well, why do I have to associate myself with the misery that you're facing?
It's interesting too, because to me, I see it as like, you don't have to give all of your resources to somebody who doesn't have, but just the simple fact that, like, look homeless people or houseless people in the eye. Like, don't like pretend like they don't exist. Mm-hmm. Like, when they're trying to interact with you and stuff like that, just listen to people and treat people with respect, and, you know, understand that their situation and your situation might not have any intersections, and it might not be a fault of their own with whatever situation they're in, because, like, you just don't have any idea. It might be, it might not be, but the thing is, you don't have any idea, but that doesn't give you the right to just be like, like, I can't see, I'm blind. Like, you know, right, yeah. So, again, was that the answer to the question?
It was. You answered the question.
Oh my goodness.
We grew 5 trees. I grew 3 trees. You just grew 2 trees, and then you have another tree to grow.
Oh, I do. What's the third?
The third tree. The third tree. Joska, what is your artistic aesthetic language or languages? And how did you develop it?
Okay, so...
Or them. How did you develop it?
How did you... they, them.
For the aesthetic languages.
So, how did I develop them? So, when you were explaining this to me earlier, because Google was no help, and I was like, Marissa's on to something. I definitely have a combination of a couple. But I think I mostly like to, especially with writing, I like to kind of touch on the realism of what it means. It's weird because to me it's like realism, but realism encompasses so much because people are so dynamic. So when I'm writing like comedy, it can get very wacky sometimes, or it can get very like campy sometimes. But there are people who are wacky and campy in real life, and that's like their personality, and they're not faking that. So my inclination is to be like realism, but also what you were saying earlier about being inspired by choreographers. I kind of definitely notice the influences of dance in my expression as well. I'm very, like, in terms of comedy again, I'm very, like, a physical person. Like, I can do something that could make someone laugh without saying, even though I'm very, like...
Animated,
language-based with my comedy, like, very verbal.
No, you have good physical comedy.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I think the physical comedy is something that I've begun to notice a lot of the time, too. And I'm just like, okay, so... there are influences of how, like, I grew up, like, learning the different parts of my body. And, like, I am really, really aware when I feel disconnected to my body. Like, I love, like, tapping my body and hitting my body and doing that type of exercise to remind myself that I have shins down there. Like,
Shins!
I have shins down there. Because sometimes I forget, like, you know, of course I know I have legs, but... like, to feel energy radiating off different parts of my body and to be reminded that, you know, everything is connected and like, the spine is the center and all of that type of, all that good jazz is something that I've definitely used as a way to express anything creative that I'm doing, whether it's acting or writing or singing, or like singing. Kind of nervous to say that, but we need to claim it.
Amen.
Claim it. Hey, we're back in the stew. The stew. We're back in the stew. But yes, I feel that most of my work, I just want to show people how dynamic realism can be. Like, actual people are like this, you know? Because sometimes I write something that seems campy and chaotic and maybe a little bit experimental. But to me, that's real. I'm like, to me, that's realism. That's naturalism. And I might act like that. I might know somebody who acts like that. Even on a different spectrum of, like, dramatic and not just comedy. Like, there are people who are so dynamic and have serious personalities. And I'm like, I like to show the big parts. I like to show, like, the minuscule parts of that. But to me, it doesn't really... I wouldn't describe it as, like, abstract or experimental. I would describe it as natural, because these are people that I've encountered in my real life, and I want people to see that, you know, this is a character, but this is an expression of someone I've really taken in. And so that's how you know, like, yeah, you might have known somebody who had a similar personality or that type of thing, or a similar way of moving their body. And I think that's my aesthetic language.
I was going to say, what you were just saying, like, words, Marissa. Do you find yourself, like, studying people especially people that you don't know, to tap into the realism? That's a follow-up question.
Yes. Thank you for that follow-up question. I think that's a great follow-up question. I do. And sometimes I ask people if I can record them with it. Because I'm just like, okay, the way I like, besides noticing, like, physicality too, or different idiosyncrasies that people have, I also just like to write dialogue with really specific rhythm, like really specific natural rhythm. Like, this is how you would talk. Sometimes I've read some dialogue in scripts, like auditioning for things, and I'm like,
AI wrote this.
Right, I'm like, would somebody say this? Not that somebody can't say it. It's literally like, but you have a feeling that like, oh, this sounds like very like, I don't know, what's the word?
If robots came and like Earth, they would talk like this because they're trying to like assimilate. Like,
right? Yeah, I'm just like,
I said if robots, I said aliens.
and I really believed it, and I didn't question that at all. If robots, yes.
Aliens.
But no, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, there's no breath in the places that breath should be. Like where, or sometimes we would get the note as actors to just like, oh, like, why did you say that? Why did you say that line? And an actor might be like, that's my line. That's my next line.
Hello.
And then, yeah, and then the director or the writer might be like, well, no, this is a line that obviously you have to think about that type of thing before you say it. For me, yes, I agree that you can definitely pinpoint those places where this is a line I have to think before I say something like this. But sometimes when I write, I want to make it so that you actually are thinking, like there's thinking in there in the script. Not that I'm saying this character thinks, but
like you can like tell based off of the
just
flow.
like putting in those like these likes, these these. But that's not always how people think. Sometimes there's a beat, and there's just like, wait a minute. Or, you know, something that has to do with what that character might say when they're thinking or do when they're thinking. Because you don't always say something when you're trying to think of something. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'm just like, this is how we really do things. And I think people are so different that I feel sometimes that I have a responsibility to share the specific ways different characters might think about something, in terms of that being an example. But yes, I do. I do specifically take people in, like strangers, and I like to people watch and that type of thing. I really pay attention to how different people walk.
Yeah,
I've noticed.
That's always fun to
yes,
do.
I've noticed
like
some.
gait.
Right. I've noticed some really, really specific and dynamic. I'm using that word so much, but it's true. So many dynamic ways of the gait of walking, and I'm just
it tells you a lot about a person.
Yeah, it does. Like I used to know, like one of my teachers from high school used to walk and like kind of like move his neck a little bit like this when he walked.
African dance undulation.
Right. Yeah, he was African. Well, he was black. You know, yeah, African. right. He used to walk like this, and he used to walk really slow. And I look at pacing and I look at the body, and I'm just like, everyone's dancing all the time. We're full circle. Like everybody's dancing all the time, and yeah, so I pay attention to that, and I think it's really cool. We're all so unique.
I know. That's like, especially on like a night like yesterday, that would have been a good day to people watch. Yeah. That was really random thought, but it's true.
That's connected.
Nice spring weather, I'd be like, have my
vanilla Cobra.
Just be like, interesting.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so at first I wanted these episodes to be like a certain amount of time. Then I listened to a lot of podcasts. I listened to podcasts of all different various lengths. And I was just like, you know what? It'll be edited or whatever. But I also feel like I need to just talk. Like we just need to talk, and then what happens, and we'll get it. Like, sorry about that. We had a little technical snafu. We'll be back right after this. All right, so now we're nearing the end of our episode, but before then, I want to close out with a little game. Love a good game. So this game is going to be our old TV show top 3, big 3. Our old TV show, big 3. So it's astrology related, okay? You're going to take an old TV show that you love, and you're going to take the characters, and you're going to assemble your big 3. So who's your sun, who's your moon, and who's your rising? And what TV show did you pick?
3 reason why I laughed is because when I saw this question, immediately I was like, Bernie Mac show.
Ooh.
It was like Bernie Mac show. I love that show. I love Bernie Mac, R.I.P. So I think I am baby girl / Rihanna's son. Bernie Mac Moon.
Bernie Mac.
Nessa Rising.
That's good.
I think that's pretty accurate.
That's really good.
I had to think about it because I was like, I'm Bernie Mac's son. And I was like, no, I'm not Bernie Mac's son. I'm not Bernie Mac's son.
Bernie Mac Moon. I love it.
Thank you. I feel like, yeah, Bernie Mac Moon.
That's a good choice. Wow, I'm sitting here like, I want to pick a different show.
Wait, what was your show?
I was going to say Nez Declassified.
School Survivor Guide. No, now you have to do it.
I've just been talking about it a lot lately, and it's a big inspiration for me. Thank you, Ned.
They have a podcast, too.
I listen to it.
Cool.
They don't talk about nothing, but those are the best podcasts. Like, come on. Like, they're trying to adhere to the rules of the strike going on right now, and yeah, they kind of get off topic anyway. Even before the strike, they were just, like, kind of getting off topic all the time.
They need that show again, but like I don't know, they need a reboot or something.
It's weird how they haven't, but let me see who would be my big three out of those. So I think I am a Simon Nelson Cook son. Cookie son. I think I'm a Cookie son. I think I might be, what's the janitor's name? Gordon? Is that his name?
Gordon? No.
I think his name is Gordon. I think I'm the janitor Moon, Gordon Moon. And then I'm Ned Rising.
Ned Rising. Yeah, Ned Rising.
Ned Biggie, that's me. And my two best friends try to do the impossible.
And wait, what is it? Ned Biggie, that's me.
Create a guide to help you survive school.
Ned's Declassified, School Survival Guide. Whoa.
Don't want to us, Nicole.
Wait, it's don't won't? I thought it was whoa.
It is. I'm saying don't sue us.
Don't whoa.
I don't think we said too much, but yes, that was our game. Oh my goodness, fun. That was fun. Thank you all for joining us on 23, 24, 25. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back next week to talk all about fear. So I might say this.
Where's the button?
Where's the button?
Oh.
I might say this every episode, but I am telling you the truth when I say you will not want to miss this next episode. So I'll see you there. Bye, guys.
Later.
Thanks, Marissa. This was so fun.
Whoa.
You said, I thought it was, whoa.
23, 24, 25 is a podcast produced and hosted by Joska. Graphic design by Joska. Executive producer, director of photography, and editor, Dante Charles Critchlow. Music by Fadal Moore. A special thanks to Anthony and Celintia Moore, Constance Moore, and Harold Hickson for their contributions to production. And a special thanks to viewers like you who create the community of my wildest dreams. Thank you.
23, 24, 25 TV.